Indonesia's banking sector is racked by scandals. Dozens of politicians and banking staff have been implicated in million-dollar bribery cases. Banks have also been accused of using heavy-handed tactics on customers who fall behind on their debts. I'm Fauzia Ibrahim. On this edition of 101 East, we look at the dark side of Indonesia's financial sector.
It's a big place, getting bigger and busier. "24 million people, that's a tenth of Indonesia's entire population, call the capital, Jakarta, home.
It's big, it's amazing, it's a lively country.
It's buzzing with a renewed sense of wealth and prosperity. Many of the country's 60,000 millionaires live here and do business here. Even being a billionaire is a boom industry. They've doubled in number to 20 in just 2 years. Of course, being conspicuously wealthy in crowded and jammed Jakarta has its challenges. And so the super rich have to take their supercars to private racetracks to play. While a growing army of fashionistas can head to one of the city's private fashion shows for their expensive and very exclusive designer wear.
People think high-rolling socialites in Jakarta should have fancy cars, nice apartments, fabulous clothes, plastic surgery.
For many of Indonesia's showy, moneyed elite, it's see and be seen, and a culture of get rich any way you can.
Welcome.
Andre Frankie is one of Indonesia's leading designers of the kebaya, a traditional Javanese blouse. He's couturier to the rich and powerful, to the famous and infamous alike. From his studio tucked away in Jakarta's southern suburbs, he's gained a unique perspective on the extraordinary and sometimes tainted lives of Jakarta's well-to-do.
Sangat-sangat fantastic, like a sport car, like a Ferrari, Maserati, and then Lamborghini. Kan dia bisa sewa untuk private jet untuk pergi ke luar negeri, seperti itu.
One of Andre's customers, Ade, has popped in for a fitting.
You also have a nice dress.
I like all his design. In my opinion, he made Indonesian traditional dress very beautiful. This is the real one.
Ade is typical of Andre Frankie's clientele.
Maybe the cutting.
She's one of a loyal group of big spending women with a passion for fashion.
We going to the movies together, dinner, see fashion show, and also to Bali, traveling in Indonesia and board. But it's not really slim. This is just a trick.
There's plenty of fun, mischief and gossip. And right now, there's no end of scandal. Jakarta is transfixed by two major criminal dramas exposing the dark side of high finance Indonesia style. And the central characters happen to feature as models in a lavish publication promoting Andre Frankie's flamboyant designs. Are these real diamonds?
Yeah, real diamonds.
Really? Nothing fake?
Nothing.
This is Melinda D, a social queen bee and a big-time banker.
This is also Melinda D.
Melinda again. She might normally be here in Andre's studio being fitted for a spectacular garment, only she's in jail right now, awaiting trial. More on Melinda D later. But first, let's go straight to the top. Miranda.
Miranda Gultom.
Miranda Gultom.
Yeah.
Miranda Gultom was one of Indonesia's most influential figures, a deputy governor at the country's central bank, Bank Indonesia.
Brilliant blue. Brilliant lady, Miranda. She's very nice lady also, but quite strong and protective.
Are you surprised that she's in controversy?
Yeah.
Well, fashion show, of course, is a side work, you know, but my main work is more on economics issues.
She's as well connected as she is well dressed, rubbing shoulders with the children of former President Suharto. They sponsored this recent Andre Franke fashion show. But these days, Miranda Gultom doesn't spend as much time as she'd like by the catwalk. She's starring as a witness in the corruption court in a case focusing on how she rose so high in the central bank. In 2004, Miranda Gultom was nominated by the then President Megawati Soekarno Putri to be Deputy Governor of Bank Indonesia. Prosecutors say her election win was assured when someone paid politicians from Megawati's party and their allies $2.8 million in travellers' cheques to vote for her.
Kalau boleh, saya berteriak. Nama kasus ini bukan kasus Miranda Gultom.
Yang tanya penasihat hukum, Ibu.
Penasihat hukum. Saya tidak tahu ada travel check.
4 politicians are already in jail for accepting the bribes.
Well, I have sympathy to them because it's not clear where the money comes from and what's the money for. Is it because they are electing me, or is it for election, which is, it was the year of election? It's not been proven yet.
No one's been charged with paying the bribes. In fact, it's one of the gaping holes in the case. For her part, Miranda continues to insist she knows nothing.
Why should I bribe them? Logically, I shouldn't bribe them, right? Because automatically they already supported me.
Isn't it just part of the system, the way things work?
No, I don't think so. I never give money. I never give money for anything.
As for Miranda's woes, in socialite circles, they're viewed simply as one of the pitfalls of power and politics.
Maybe that's the Indonesian political, you know,
The way things work.
yeah, we don't know the white or grey or black, that's political.
Always in the shadows.
Yes.
If shadowy affairs permeate Indonesia's top financial authority, it won't be a surprise to hear they've infiltrated the whole banking system.
Ibu Melinda D.
And that brings us back to Melinda D. Melinda D was a star at one of Andre's high society fashion parades. For 22 years, she worked for the US-based financial giant Citibank, rising to become a senior customer relations manager.
Is Melinda like this?
Andre's dresses sell for between $1,000 and $10,000 apiece. Melinda D owned 20 of them. You made these for Melinda?
Yeah.
Wow. Pink's her favourite colour, I
Yeah,
guess.
pink is favorite color. Melinda dia salah satu dari klien juga. Very cute. They come here with a bodyguard and with the Hermes bag and then with the nice diamond and all of the things with the nice watch.
When Melinda D burst onto the scene, she quickly had heads turning and tongues wagging.
3 years ago, with very nice style, we call Barbie. You know Barbie? Like a doll, because everything is very perfect, not like me. This is perfect, everything perfect. That's we call Barbie.
Melinda D cukup eksis di high-end society. Apalagi dia mempunyai fans. Everybody know.
I was asking a friend of mine, who is that girl with that big boobs and things like that, you know, because I feel uneasy to see a person that so striking in a negative sense.
You thought she was a bit vulgar?
Yeah. Not a bit, a lot.
A lot. Having barged her way into the ranks of Jakarta's elite, Melinda D persuaded hundreds of clients with a minimum $50,000 to spare to open priority banking accounts with Citibank. She offered a service where there were no queues and few questions asked. Melinda made a fortune for Citibank and, along the way, managed to acquire a portfolio of personal assets beyond the wildest dreams of a humble bank employee, including 5 luxury homes. It wasn't just big houses and high fashion. Melinda D maintained a stunning collection of luxury cars. For all appearances, she was completely in tune with the high rollers. It's a sweet sound, but one Melinda D's not likely to hear for quite a while. It turned out to be just a short step from the catwalk to the walk of shame. Early this year, a customer complained that Melinda made unauthorised withdrawals from his account. She's now in jail awaiting trial for allegedly stealing around $3 million from her clients. Her lawyer, Batara Simbalon's defence doesn't appear to be helpful. He says she simply borrowed the money from her clients to invest elsewhere.
Biasanya tuh Melinda misalkan pakai dulu uang ini.
What happened was that Melinda would use the client's money as well as other money she received from her bonus and other gains. Then she would return the money.
Biasanya ini diganti sama dia.
Not only did the Citibanker convince her clients to sign blank transaction forms, the bank itself failed to properly supervise her activities, and it ignored a rule designed to stop fraud and money laundering.
Melinda's the golden girl at Citibank because she's received various awards, and she's never been punished for any of her actions.
For Citibank, the Melinda D affair is a public relations nightmare. But for newspaper editors, including the Jakarta Post's Dimas, it's a rare combination of sobering business news and tabloid gold.
It's actually a financial story which hits home to every economist and housewife at the same time. It also becomes interesting because supposedly with this so many billions of rupiah, I think only 2 or 3 people have actually come out and said, oh yeah, I was one of her victims, which leads again to questions about who were they actually?
It turns out some of Melinda's high rollers were actually former government officials.
If it's public officials, definitely they would not come out because then you're not of this high net worth group.
They shouldn't have their money.
They shouldn't have that sort of money, yes.
Yeah, that also a big question, not only for me, but also for the public also. Yeah.
The anti-money laundering agency began to ask, was Citibank effectively a clearinghouse for ill-gotten gains, undermining the fight against corruption?
We want to know why so many former government officials is in the private banking of this bank.
Are you concerned that the banks, and in this case Citibank, didn't want to know the answer.
Yeah, the Citibank not give the sufficient answer to us about this.
For the bank, it is not important where the money is from. What's important is that customers keep their money at the bank.
Citibank wouldn't be interviewed for this program. When the central bank investigated, it found widespread problems in Indonesia's private banking sector. It banned Citibank from recruiting new high rollers for a year and imposed tighter rules on the whole industry. But Citibank is in even deeper trouble. While it was losing millions at the top end and not even noticing, at the bottom end, its heavy-handed recovery of debt has brought a dark cloud over the bank and the whole banking system. It's the end of 40 days of mourning for Essie Rinaldi and her two daughters, Chitra and Grace. They're visiting the grave of their loving husband and father, Erzan Okta.
I really can't imagine what will happen in the future. He was very protective of his kids. He liked to have his kids in the house because he said it is not safe to play outside.
Before he died, Erzan Okta had accrued a credit card debt of $5,000. 6 debt collectors working on contract for Citibank showed up at the family home.
We were scared because they only have muscles but no brains and were temperamental. They even asked about our children, which made me worried they'd kidnap them.
The next day, Erzan Okta went to his Citibank branch. He was ushered into a debt collection counselling room called the Clio Room. What happened inside is hotly contested, but what's certain is that Erzan Okta wound up dead on the floor.
It was worse than getting struck by lightning. The 3 of us were crying on the bed, and my eldest daughter, Grace, cried, "Daddy, why did you leave me as an orphan?"
Erzan Okta's death touched a raw nerve with the public constantly bombarded by banks pushing credit.
I think it hits at the heart of most Indonesians. Almost everyone has been offered a credit card, and almost everyone has been telephoned or visited by a debt collector.
Very special one, because he's supposed to...
The drama grew when Erzan Okta's family turned to celebrity lawyer Otto Cornelius Kaligas.
What's this? Suharto, owned by the president.
This is his
golf stick? Yes, putter, golf putter.
O.C. Kaligas worked for the former dictator, Suharto, when he was accused of corruption.
It works.
In fact, he's fond of brandishing all sorts of powerful connections.
Yeah, this is Obama, right?
You're in the Oval Office?
Yes, and Oval Room.
O.C. Kaligas advised the family to sue Citibank for more than $300 million and ordered the exhumation of Okta's body. The government's pathologist and police issued conflicting autopsy reports. The first noted serious bruises, the second blamed Okta's death on a stroke.
2 different contradictory autopsy report. Of course, questionable for me. Why it is not done in a legal and proper manner?
You think there's a cover-up?
Yes, that's for certain, a cover-up.
The family's pathologist performed an autopsy beside the grave and confirmed their worst fears.
Dalam arti kata kita temukan mar We have found bruises on the victim caused by blunt force trauma all over the body, on the chest, the leg and thigh.
The cause of Okta's death is still unresolved. But his widow, Essie, has become a lightning rod for concern about big banks and their handling of bad debt.
Because lots of people have the same kind of experience of being terrorized. One even had a stroke.
Okta's case throws the spotlight on Jakarta's underbelly, where banks and big business engage standover men to do their dirty work.
A part of a main ex-criminal, a part a person who doesn't have any work, but at least can intimidate, can make brutality, against the debtor.
Thugs and the unemployed.
Unemployed, usually, yes. They come from a dark world of the society.
The debt collectors working for Citibank were questioned by the police and are now in custody. Citibank says they did nothing wrong, but at the same time it argues it's not responsible for their actions because they were contractors, not bank employees.
Citibank, karena dia meninggal di situ.
Citibank must be responsible because my husband died at their branch. He went there with goodwill, but he died there.
Okta's death triggered a wave of sanctions against Citibank. It's been forced to hire 1,400 in-house debt collectors after it was banned from hiring contractors for a year. It's also been banned from issuing new credit cards for 2 years and from opening new branches for a year.
Whether it's the darker alleys of the debt collectors or the Ferraris and Porsches of Melinda, it just shows how acceptable it is in this country to make money by any means, by somewhat questionable methods.
And as we've seen, the questionable methods go right to the top. It's not only the Miranda Gultom bribery affair that sullied Bank Indonesia, but a history of endemic vote buying and influence peddling. Central bank governors, their deputies and senior officials have been jailed for crimes including corruption, misappropriation of funds and bribing politicians to pass laws on the running of the bank.
The culture in the past, it's not only in parliamentary people, but almost across the board, that in Indonesia, they don't observe the rule. Authority means money. Authority means you have the authority to do whatever you want to do. And bribing is very, very common.
And it's taken its toll on Miranda Gultom. But she's determined to continue playing a role in the economic future of her country.
It's a very unpleasant time for me. It hurts my feeling, it hurts my children's and my husband's feeling, my family's feeling, but they all supported me because they believe that I didn't do anything. I didn't give money, I didn't ask people to give money, I didn't promise anything. I really want this to be solved and be as transparent as possible.
The big credit rating agencies are just one step away from recommending investment in Indonesia. When that happens, billions more will flow into one of the most corrupt economies on earth.
Yeah, that's our problem, yeah. Corruption is a big problem in Indonesia.
That's all the time we have for this edition of 101 East. You can always follow the program on our website, podcasts and Facebook. From all the team, thanks for watching.